My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
You're listening to Best Quality Vacuum, the Duckfeed show about the extended Vince Gilliverse. Every episode of X-Files.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Wait a minute. No.
Yeah, wait a minute. His other show.
Yeah.
Lucky Hank. Wait a minute. Now, of course, it's Breaking Bad.
And such. We are. Yeah. And this week we're talking about 4 Days Out. So find a better place to put your keys. That's not on the working surface.
Yeah, our work surface.
Yeah.
I like this episode. Enjoyed it.
You're saying that in the way that a huge butt's coming.
A huge butt is Sir Mix-a-Lot. Get out your tiny binoculars because a huge butt is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't watched it since my last rewatch, and then last episode you were like, "Wait, look out for 4 Days Out." I think it's a great concept with the tension sucked out of it a little bit. Like, I remember this being very thrilling the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
Knowing that this just basically, there's important plot stuff that happens at the beginning and end, but the middle, all of that tension resolves. I found it a little mid. And here's the other thing. Jesse's too stupid in this one. It's funny, but Jesse isn't that stupid.
No.
They made him really stupid in this.
They
like,
did.
Not the key thing, the robot thing.
You're
going to build a hovercraft or whatever. Like, it's ludicrous. The key thing is very relatable.
Yes.
I get it, but the other things, they just made him too dumb.
Yeah, I could see him being desperate, dehydrated out of his mind on that kind of stuff. I'm making excuses for the writers here.
The robot, though, that's Homer Simpson logic. That's like literally what Homer does.
Yeah. But it's he threw out a bunch of stuff. It just, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is, Gary, let's starve you of water for 2 days and let's see how that works for you.
Dehydrated.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been pretty dehydrated. I don't start believing in robots. We all are fucking fictitious like leprechauns. Like, I'm not about to.
It is the serious thing that we run into with this, because I can see Fly, an episode that I really enjoy. Like, I hold that episode in pretty high esteem just from various rewatches and stuff. But like, they are two different episodes the first time you watch them, and then when you watch them again, knowing the totality of things. So like, a little bit of me is still feeling that first time that I watched this. When I sit down to watch it, right? And like, I think that both of those reads are valuable, right? Like, how this functioned, immediately, and then kind of in the greater run. In the greater run, this is not as good of an episode as Better Call Saul. In my head, it was definitely better, better than it was. It's still good though, because I think they do some really good stuff, like performance wise. This is really kind of stand out. And I mean, I just love how subtle, they do not underline at all that Walt would have preferred to die. Yeah.
I the beginning and end of the episode.
Yes.
Like that stuff is all really good.
Yes.
The central conflict of it is what ends up feeling a little going through the motions to me once I know the motions.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not that there's not subtlety in it, or that there's not a characterization that comes through in performance, because there is. It's just, I think this might end up, when I say mid, I mean not in the damning way that we both use mid. I mean more like, this might be the middle episode of Breaking Bad, like smack dab in the middle, and things are either better or worse than this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, this might be the dipstick for me, where it's like, that's good. But I also remembered being a little bit more bowled over by it.
Yeah.
Than it is. And it's still very good. Good episode. I just had high expectations from my previous memories.
Yeah. This was directed by Michelle MacLaren and written by Sam Catlin, and it originally aired on May the 3rd of 2009. And Waltz is bracing for bad news.
Yes, because he thinks he's going to die from his cancer imminently, weeks. He and Jesse go out to the desert to do a huge long weekend of mega cooks. However, the battery on the RV runs dry. They're stuck in the desert with no spotty cell phone access and no way to get out, and no water, and have to figure out how to get home.
Another thing that kind of sticks out about this is the drama and tension here is completely wiped out when they did a similar trick in Better Call Saul.
It's they really did.
Yeah.
They're two different ways. It's like poetry. There are two different ways that people talked about, figured out surviving in the desert.
Yeah.
In this, that is the alternate universe in which they walked. Yeah. And that episode is a standout, I think. Yes. And I think the reason why is that the characters talk to each other more. Like, and it's also the thing that I like about Fly, right? Like, comparing this with Fly, the characters have had a long enough relationship where some of their barriers start to break down because of the situation, and they start, talking to each other as people. That doesn't so much happen in this.
Right.
They're still real guarded with each other. And, we're not getting as much juicy character interaction meat as we would once they've let those shields down a little bit.
Yeah. So this is a bottle episode for anybody who's unaware of what that means. Normally a bottle episode the classic version of that is the characters are locked in a freezer, right?
Yes.
Trapped in a particular place. Usually it is confined to one particular set, very limited number of characters, and they're primarily done to save costs. It's like, okay, let's do an extremely small scale thing that is going to rely almost entirely on the performances of these few actors to get in, basically to save some budget for other stuff. Yes. So that was the goal. Let's save money for the plane crash or whatever. But because of the decisions they made in writing and producing this, it ended up being the most expensive episode of the season.
Yeah, they intended to do it. They have the podcast came through in this pretty well. They intended to do this whole thing in the RV version of the set. They have the RV, the actual RV, and then they have a set version of it. And it turned out to be absolutely, not viable to have all those cameras and have everybody you need to shoot a thing in that set. Right. It is too small. So they end up having to shoot a lot of stuff with the actual RV, which meant actually going out to the desert for long periods of time, not just for a couple of establishing shots, which was their plan, and had to schlep people back and forth to the desert constantly, and just used up a lot of budget that way.
Right. It's kind of neat, because that to show the passage of time while time is also passing in real life as they're shooting this. So they had to account for lighting changes by rotating the RV out in the desert so that the sun would be in the right place.
Yeah.
As things went on. So they're fighting against that, but there's also the fact that they wrote this to be 18 minutes too long, kind of not knowing how their scripts panned out.
Well, they talked about this one as well, specifically because the commentary on this one has, or the podcast has the director and writer, and how much of this is slowly walking.
Yeah.
Are things that are hard to match a page count to minute count on screen.
And this is something that they would get a much, much better at. There are standout episodes, particularly from season 4 onward. I mean, think about how many words are spoken out loud in Box Cutter in the last, 15 minutes of that. Right.
Yeah.
But, all of that is written and considered. They would get much better at kind of gauging this as time went on.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they just had to end up writing it. We don't know what draft that is.
Right.
Maybe they were still not good at it and they still had to cut it down.
Maybe.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Difficult kind of shoot with this that they had. There's a couple little trivia bits that come through in this. Aaron Paul tried not drinking water to get a feel for what being dehydrated would be like, and found it unpleasant.
Got about a day in and decided, no, thank you, sir.
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Being dehydrated. Vince Gilligan tells a cute story about getting the worst headache he's ever had from being dehydrated, and it just goes on for fucking ever. It's real cute, but it's just like, yeah, man, I was saying, kill me, just take me to the hospital, I'm dying. And he's going on about it, and it's very cute,
very endearing. Yes.
They also on the podcast have Dave Porter, the guy who does the score, with them, and that was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
just to chat with him, talking about how they originally set up they have a music supervisor who does all the licensed music, so we know who to blame for like when that stuff's obnoxious.
Yeah.
But originally we're not going to have a score. And the other thing that I really like, Vince Gilligan has a very righteous, and he is correct, rant against placeholder music, temp tracks in movies and TV shows, which I've seen lots of people complain about. If you're ever wondering why all movies sound the same, it's temp tracks, baby.
Yeah.
So it's a creative scourge.
Oh man, there's some other trivia stuff, but like it's kind of more pertinent to when we bring stuff up in the episode about how they shot it. So let's go into it.
Let's go into it. Starts off with Walt and the entire family waiting in the oncologist office. Hank is being supportive. Marie is being very Marie. Why are you not at my imaging place? Doctors think they're so big, but you'd be surprised how often they go to technicians for insight. I don't think I would.
And she's putting this, she's very specifically putting this in Walt's mind. Like, wait a minute, she's saying that, technicians think they're smarter than doctors. Well, I'm smarter than doctors. Give me,
I'm smarter than technicians at the very least.
Yeah.
Well, one of the funnier moments in this, the thing that frustrates me so much about that robot line, we're going to get to it, is that there's a lot of more subtle, funny things in this that don't rely on breaking character like that. Like after where he says this, Walt goes, well, never pass up an opportunity to go to the bathroom. And what a fucking powerful way to excuse yourself from a situation. Never pass up an opportunity. Every word in that sentence is great. Just like, well, I love it so much. Never pass up an opportunity. You don't know how many more of these you're going to get.
He says it like it's a saying, and it's not.
Like they always say. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful and very funny. And just moves us right along.
I'm just thinking about like some like little like wearable like Internet of Things thing that just lights up whenever it is currently an opportunity to go to the restroom.
Oh yeah, like an open restroom was within 50 feet. It's not being used. And what if it doesn't light up? What if it like violently vibrates or like it plays music? Like it plays Little Spanish Flea, like really loud.
Oh my gosh. So he goes to the bathroom not to exercise his bowels, but to cough and to retch. And this is a fucking nightmare. The guy in the stall next to him won't stop bothering him. You okay? Yeah. You all right?
Yeah. What am I supposed to say? No, bust in here.
Yeah.
Help me. I don't know.
My body's never done this before.
It is at a medical facility, so maybe he thinks we can call a doctor, but
yeah. But also, I don't know. Just let me be miserable.
What's very funny is so then Walt he's getting his cat PET scan, and they start playing music from Portal 2.
Yep.
Just for a second. It's like, and then he comes out. He sees the tech. He's like, how did I do? Do you see anything? The tech says, I'm just a tech. Whatever your sister-in-law told you is incorrect. But Walt sees the reflection on the monitor, and he's got this huge splotch on his lung.
Yeah.
No good.
Right.
Scary.
Yeah. So he goes to the most compassionate person he knows, Saul Goodman, to kind of talk about next steps on this. Saying like, hey, laundering money is pretty simple. Like, I've got the stuff for that. But the thing that's got to complicate it is keeping your wife in the dark. Yeah. Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Yeah, that he does not support this move. Walt says she doesn't find out anything until after I'm dead.
Right.
Saul, infers at this point that Walt doesn't have very long. I think he even asks at this point, and Walt's like weeks.
Yes.
Really, really, really tough stuff. And Saul just says, that sucks. I was thinking we'd have long enough time to make some real money. And it turns out, how much do you have? And Walt says $16,000. Saul just took $80,000 from them.
Yep.
Saul actually surprised. It's like, he's like, there have been complications. And like, well, it just happened last episode.
Yeah. And Saul kind of runs down like, okay, laundering at 75 cents on the dollar minus fees. You've got just over, $9,000. Congratulations. You just left your family a secondhand Subaru.
That is great.
It's such a good line.
I love what, Walt says, well, I just had to cook more. And he goes, that is my legal opinion. Like, it's very funny.
Yeah.
So Walt, Skylar says, we should do something to keep our mind off of the waiting for the test results. And Walt says, I think it's probably time I go and see my mom. I haven't called her.
Yeah. This is so smart.
It's super smart and it works.
Mm-hmm.
It's a successful lie. I love Walt's relationship with his mother that we never see it. We just get these little bits of it.
A lesser show would go into Walt's childhood and background to try and justify it.
Can you imagine the flashbacks and shit?
Oh God.
Like, it'd be intolerable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would not like it at all. He's sitting down playing with like a chemistry set, just it's just disgusting.
And we get some of that with Better Call Saul, right? But it's in the period where that begins the show about brothers.
Well, it's a different show.
Yeah.
Like that tonally would work a lot better with Walter White. Saul is redeemable.
Yes.
Is the idea. The idea was he was good, even though I don't buy that Walt was always the villain that he was. He was never a good person.
Right.
Saul has potential to be a good person, is what that show is kind of showing in the beginning and end of it. Walt, I don't think does.
Right.
He had potential to die in obscurity.
Yep.
If he didn't get cancer, but he didn't have potential to be like a good person.
Right.
Yeah. So, and this is the reason why this is so smart is that nobody likes Walt's mom, including Skylar.
He's really leaning on like, what a your battle axe of a mother-in-law,
And it sounds like she is. It sounds like she's a real piece of work. She's accusing the Hispanic like nurses of moving her ashtrays and shit. It sounds awful.
But this is again just as a performance here of Walt kind of laying this out, like, you just suddenly she starts counting the sugar packets. She knows when they start disappearing.
Yeah,
like
he understands the key to a lie is detail.
Yes,
So like the way you get somebody to believe something is detail.
Yeah, but also like he's kind of bringing her along, just kind of like this is a thing that any two people would do, but especially a married couple talking about just grousing about one of the parents. This is commiserating, right?
Yeah.
The other part of this, and he's kind of like just basically throwing out as many seeds as he can, but he's saying like, I haven't called her, but also I need to make sure that if anything happens to me, she's going to leave something for the family. Yep. Right? Like, okay, here is a possible out in the future.
Yeah, an explanation for this. At this point, Skylar, for a second, it looks like she's suspicious of this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And then she says, actually, I think the news from the scan is going to be good. Maybe you should prepare for that. And he goes, but he quote unquote knows it won't be good, but this is her predicting the future. That is what he is unprepared for.
Yeah.
We cut over to Jesse and Jane in bed in the morning. They've just done it. They're maybe going to do it again, but she says we should go do something. We should go to the George O'Keeffe Museum.
Is that the one with the A-bombs?
Yeah, which again, come on. That's real stupid. Like, I'm not mad at them for writing Jesse as never having heard of George O'Keeffe.
Yeah.
But I feel like he would know that's not the A-bomb one.
Yeah.
And
she says a little culture won't kill you. Besides, kind of dangling this out there, a lot of the paintings look like vaginas, which is a funny line and a funny thing for her to tempt him with. I love, again, I
like it when he throws it back.
Yes. Yeah. But like just the way the scene is shot is very good. Kristen Ritter just kind of like standing over him on the bed like that. Not going to be creepy here. Kristen Ritter, incredibly attractive woman, and they shoot her to look like an angel in this.
Yeah.
Golf angel, but yeah.
She goes to the kitchen to get some cereal when Walt calls. Jesse runs out to answer it before he can speak on the answering machine. And he basically surprised Jesse with this, like, we have to cook. Jesse's like, I no, we don't. I have plans. And Walt says, smoking marijuana, eating Cheetos, and masturbating don't constitute plans in my book. Big dickhead move. He's like, for your information, I'm going to a museum to look at vagina pictures. George O'Keeffe, heard of her? This is pretty funny.
Yeah. What are you even talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he says, we have no choice but to cook. The methylamine is going to go bad. So unless you want to boost another barrel, we got to do it. But he's not lying about that. He could probably tell the truth. He just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Skylar drops Walt off at the airport saying, Walt says, you can always call me if you need me. And she says, what? And risk talking to your mother? That would have to be some emergency. Again, underlining what a good lie this is. He has built himself in this wall.
Yep. So Walt goes inside, waits a moment, and then comes back out. The RV comes and picks him up. He's disgusted by this. You brought a meth lab to the airport, and Jesse says, I saved us a trip.
Yeah.
With this. We get this travel montage. There's production details with this. Jesse was driving the van and took a wrong turn, had to go out onto the freeway. Apparently the RV is very hard to drive.
Yes.
So they shot it in this time lapse to just excruciating music. And they said the whole time they were just like, you're going to fucking kill us. We're going to die in this because it was a very scary drive.
Yeah. It's an old RV too. It's like a 1983 Bounder, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, any RV is going to be really difficult just because of sight lines and turning radius and stuff. But like you get into an old enough RV, like my grandparents used to have, like any wind, any bump causes that thing to, you feel like it is going to flop over. It constantly feels like it's about to fall apart.
I have a lot of anxiety around driving. I don't drive in my adult life. And part of the reason why is I did for a while in my hometown, and my band went on tour to the East Coast. We went and played this show in South Carolina, this house party, really beautiful, beautiful youth moment. Woke up at the crack of dawn and threw ourselves into the ocean like that, ukulele bank commercial shit. But I was the only person who had gotten any sleep. So I had to drive the van, and I kept trying to say like, I'm not a strong driver, everybody. I've never really driven on the highway. They're like, you'll be fine. And I drove this van on the highway from South Carolina to North Carolina. And the whole time I'd never driven anything that big, and certainly not on the highway, and certainly not with like coastal winds. It was horrifying.
Yeah.
Like absolutely white knuckle. The entire time. And then the fun silver line to that is I kept seeing billboards for something called Pedro South of the Border, which is a tourist trap between North Carolina and South Carolina. And I said, fuck it. We're going to have a day and just stop there and woke everybody up. And it's like, hey, we're here now. Somebody else has to drive. We walked around that for a minute, and then like somebody else was awake enough to drive.
It's real funny. Just you citing Pedro South of the Border. I've never been to it, but I know exactly where it is. Anybody who grew up in Ohio knows that you're going to take one vacation per year, and it's going to be to Myrtle Beach, and you're going to pass by all of that shit.
Yep. Yeah. Just the most aggressive billboard campaign I've ever seen in my life. like it's like every mile. And just real tons of FOMO. And I was also, it's worth noting in this situation that like I had gotten some sleep, but I was like on 3 hours sleep versus everyone's 1.
Right.
So it wasn't like I was really well rested or anything.
Yeah.
So I just kept seeing things that are like only 196 miles left till Pedro South of the Border. And I'm like, that does sound cool. Pedro seems like a nice guy. I wonder if he's got some coffee for me.
I wonder if he has some life advice.
Yeah. it was a silly situation.
I wonder if Pedro can convince the others to drive.
Yeah, I wonder if he can wake them up. Like, I wonder if Pedro likes rock music.
Yeah.
So they do this little montage out there with frustrating music.
Yeah.
They get out there, and Walt is checking out their food situation, which is all like cereal, 3 entire bags of Funyuns.
Yep.
Which I love. This is a joke. Again, there are funny lines in this that really work for me. I love, what Funyuns are awesome. And I love Walt going, how are you even alive? That's very funny.
Yeah.
How about something with protein, something green?
Yeah. Yeah. So something that won't dehydrate us just by eating it.
Yeah. Or by being in the same room with it. Yeah. Like if you're within a cubic mile of a Funyun.
Oh, I mean,
you're desiccated.
If you don't have any like packets of silica gel and you're trying to keep like a box that you're storing dry, just pop a Funyun in there.
Yeah, throw a couple Funyuns in there. Or if it's the end and you've picked up the wrong grail,
Oh yeah.
Then unleashes the Funyuns and just absolutely melts. Like, so Jesse's phone is not getting signal, but Walt's is. But Walt won't let him call his girlfriend because it's some stripper. And Skyler's going to find out. Jesse's mad about this. He's like, just no, she's going to check.
Yes.
We have to save our batteries and we have to get to work.
Yeah. Walt also lays in about the amount of drinking water, just a big cooler, the kind of which, a team would dump over their coach.
Yeah, they got 10 gallons.
Of the big game. Yeah.
Which is technically fine. Like, it's not ideal, but they could make it with this.
Yeah. And Jesse figures, okay, let's start getting suited up. And he throws the car keys onto the counter, onto the working surface. And Walt's, no, we need to do it right. But in the bad way of we need to do it right. Yes. And so Jesse goes, he takes the keys and puts them in the ignition, not noticing that the light on the dashboard has turned on. There is a little bell that is supposed to be ringing, but it does not ring.
Yeah, a buzzer. So bad move on Jesse's part.
Yes.
We get a cook montage. Again, it'd been a minute since we've had one of these. Eating Funyuns. They piss at sunset. There's a lot of weird production. Everyone loves that pissing at sunset.
Yep.
Shot. They go on about it for a long time on the podcast.
It wasn't even in the script.
Beautiful shot. Yeah. Just like, and they're like, yeah. Okay. Absolutely beautiful, gorgeous shot. Just a perfect shot. I'm like, I mean, usually I've been out in a pissing outside situation with men. Usually don't stand so close that you could hold hands.
Yeah.
Like I would go to a different corner of the desert. For me, like face away.
Yeah. Or, just, I don't know what the win situation is, but like three out of the 4 possible situations have a pretty good chance of backsplash going on.
There's a grenade scatter thing. You roll a D6 and it goes in one of 6 directions and it lands. And most of them are bad directions in this scenario.
Yeah. Also, when they're eating the Funyuns, I think them sitting in the lawn chairs is a nicer shot than the pissing shot.
Yeah.
In silhouette with Walt trying a Funyun. This was Bryan Cranston's first Funyun.
Oh yeah.
He takes a bite of it and then throws it away. Yeah.
I could go for a Funyun. I enjoy a Funyun.
I haven't had a Funyun since I was a kid.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name so they finish, they're weighing their stuff. They fill this huge Sterilite bin with 19 bags, 42 pounds of meth. They do the math, and find out that's math. And they are looking at $672,000, $100,000 each.
Yes. Which is quite a bit. More, well over $500,000 a piece. And this is before they're even done. This is before they're even through all of them.
Jesse thinks they're done. Yeah, Jesse's like, Jesse. I love Jesse getting him to do a high five. I like that a lot.
Just come on, baby, and then just pauses. And like, yes,
all right, yes, yeah.
He does a little yawp. Yeah,
I love when they get along. This is what Jesse's like. Come on, let's get out of here. We still have time. And Walt's like, we're not done. We still have a bunch of methylamine left.
Yeah.
It's insane. As this happens, the generator goes out. Because they're out of gas. And Jesse's like, oh, okay, like perfect timing. Jesse says we can at least take a night off, hot shower, separate hotel rooms, get some Denny's. Yeah. Well, it's like, all right, we can do that. We'll come out the next morning.
He sells the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Just great.
It sounds real good. He was sweating in this place, for this whole time. But Jesse tries to start the RV and cannot.
Yeah. Nothing. Not even a click. And Walt says, hey, where did you put the keys? And son of a bitch. They're in really big trouble here. Jesse blames the mechanism for not buzzing. Just like, you're the one who forced me to take them off the counter. Walt lays into him. And is this just congenital? What is it with you? Kind of stuff. They're just immediately at each other's throats.
Yeah, after this moment of celebration and closeness. Yeah. So they siphon some gas from the RV into the generator to jump it. Getting gas everywhere. Walt's doing this, then he goes and spits it up. And this is fine. This is funny as well. I'm okay with this. It's like, what's it taste like? Bad, huh? That's pretty funny.
That's very funny.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So okay, they're gonna need to jump the thing, right? So they fill the generator with some gas from the RV so they can get it started, jump the battery. Jesse goes to, pull the cord to start it, doesn't go, pulls extra hard again, and then the thing explodes.
Yeah, it's covered in gasoline.
Yes.
Like there's, and that's in terms of like sharing blame in this, that's Walt spitting gasoline all over it.
Yep.
Like he could have noticed that as well. That's not entirely on Jesse.
They could have waited, I don't know, 15 minutes for that to evaporate. Yeah.
Yeah. But it would have been pretty easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't do it, but it's on fire. Walt rushes inside the RV and Jesse rushes in as well, thinking he's helping, grabs the drinking water and douses the fire.
This is very dumb.
Yeah, incredibly dumb. Jesse is a stupidity elemental in this whole thing. Like, it is my biggest problem with this episode. Yeah. Is he's real what like Ox from the Fighting Hellfish.
Yeah.
Like he's
a Tontine is
one of them pretty pictures. Like they turn him into a real fucking like half ogre.
Yeah.
In this for some reason.
Well, I mean, and again, I hope somebody got fired for that blunder. Jesse is probably the person who went and bought the fire extinguisher because he's on procurement.
Yeah. Yeah. And he would know this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This is just really stupid.
Yeah.
Walt lays into them. They've just given up all their drinking water. And they can't drink fire extinguisher, so they're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Jesse's up on top of the RV with an aluminum foil antenna trying to get a signal. They start arguing about who's responsible for the generator. Jesse says that Walt hooked it up wrong. Yeah. Walt says you threw all our water in there, and Jesse convinces him like, hey, we need to call for help. Let me use your phone.
Yeah. So they call Skinny Pete and give him directions, just to turn before you get to this place. They're just completely off the map. Right.
Yep.
Saying like, hey, bring water. And we cut to nighttime and they're bundled up inside the RV. It's freezing out. And Jesse's talking, just trying to, look a little bit down the road saying, hey, there's this survivalist guy I saw on TV, had to drink his own piss. He says it tastes like really hot old soda.
Yeah. And then Walt looks him in the eyes and goes, tell me again. And then Jesse says, yeah, he had to drink his own piss. And then Walt goes, tell me again. And it just goes on. It's really uncomfortable and tense. I
just want to hear it. I
just want to hear it. I paid for the story. I figured I'd like to hear it. Tell me again. That doesn't happen. No. Walt just turned his back. He's like, he's like, we have to call Skinny Pete to see where he's at.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's on his way there. He passed the white sign, but then he says he crossed a river.
Yeah.
There's no river, and as they're talking to him to try to give him updated directions, the phone dies.
Right. And then the lantern oil runs out.
Yep. Jesse, they go to sleep. Jesse wakes up to the sound of Walt coughing. He's outside hand cranking the generator with the idea to trickle charge the battery.
Yes, theoretically, it will work. Yeah. It has to work. This got the message boards real upset. All of the electrical engineers came out of the outlets and started saying, actually, that would not work.
Yeah. Yeah. He's also, desperate.
Yes.
There. I like the line a lot where like Jesse tries to be like, theoretically, like, and he's like, no, this has to work. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Like, we will die. Mm-hmm. It's not, this is not optional.
Right. Yeah. So Walt lets Jesse take over doing the cranking, which just looks miserable.
Yeah.
And time passes. They get hotter and hotter. They take their cots and prop them up to get shade.
Yep.
As the sun changes position. That's another real pretty shot. As that goes, and Jesse asks like, hey, have we cranked enough? Kind of doing an are you there? Are we there yet? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Walt is unresponsive, limp in his armchair, just staring down at a tarantula that is on his hand from a cut pet tarantula subplot.
Yes, where it would have crawled onto his hand. And astute viewers will guess that this is the same tarantula that Jesse Plemons grabs and uses it as his pet. It's seen here, this tarantula's tail. So Walt coughs, Jesse realizes that he's alive, but he's very sick. And Jesse puts it together because Jesse is simultaneously smart and the biggest idiot in the world in this episode. And he's like, that's not why we're here. Methylamine doesn't spoil. Walt just looks at him. And then again, there's little nitpicky things. It's really just Jesse in this episode. But I don't like that he goes like, yo, lie much. That's such a weird fucking line for this. Like, he has more to say about it. If you just told me you were dying, I would have went with you.
Yeah.
He just him lie much. It just sounds so stupid to me. I don't know. I just really don't like how Jesse's written in this episode.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel Jesse to me.
Yeah.
So Walt stops Jesse when he's barely able to turn the crank. They're both trying to turn it for a little bit. It's gotten so hard. It's like, now we can start it. The engine turns over, but then sputters out immediately.
Yeah. So it was enough, but not enough to get it to go, for long enough to actually start the alternator, start, recharging the battery. It's a problem. And Jesse's pleas here, as he keeps trying to turn, please, 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 please. And then just asking himself, why couldn't I have gone to Santa Fe? Why? Go to that museum. Very good. Desperation in that.
He realizes he can't hear Walt and back. Walt's sitting out in the grass. He has a bunch of blood on his hand. He has coughed up blood. This is new for him.
Yes. Yeah. And, Walt is given over entirely to despair. They're back inside the RV. It's like, we had this coming. I deserve this. Yeah. And Jesse.
I want Jesse to be like, well, I didn't, is the thing. Like, I know that's not very much for Walt to recognize that he's killed 2 people.
Yeah.
No matter how many people he takes with him, he thinks it's just suicide. And that's very Walt. I'm not criticizing the writing for that.
Who's we? You got a mouse in your pocket that you're strangling?
We had this coming?
And Jesse kind of throws Walt's line back to him. He's like, hey, everything you did for your family, right?
Yeah. And Walt says a true thing on his deathbed, basically what he thinks is his deathbed. Like, all I ever did was worry and disappoint them and lie to them. I can't even keep the lies straight in my head.
Yeah.
Anymore. Jesse gets sick of this doom pill shit. He's like, I'm going to walk. And then Walt, again, this kind of fatherly impulse, he stops him. He's like, your body is low on electrolytes. Like, what's going to happen is your body's going to shut down. Your brain's going to stop talking to your muscles.
Yeah. You're going to cease breathing. You're going to suffocate to death.
Yeah. And this is where Jesse says, listen, you're smart. You have to, pep talk. You have to stop all this loser crybaby crap and think of something scientific. We have this whole lab here. And he says, this is the line I don't like. He starts listing things they could do. He says, rocket fuel, taking parts of the RV, turning into a hovercraft or a dune buggy, a new battery, a robot. A robot is just, again, it's Homer Simpson logic.
Yeah.
Walt's eyes light up. Do you have any money or change? Gather up all the galvanized metal and change you have and go grab the brake pads.
Yeah. Jesse's like, hey, what are you building? And Walt says, you said it yourself. I like Jesse's delivery on this. Just like the child, it's very childlike, but also like disbelieving. Like a robot? A battery. Yeah.
It's cute. It's just, it's too dumb. For me, Jesse's also going to die, and he knows he's going to die. He's desperate, but it's just, I don't know. It's too stupid. The crew behind this is intensely proud of this line.
Yes. It wasn't a writer's line. It was like an assistant camera person.
Not according to the podcast. That's what it says in the wiki. On the podcast, I think they misunderstood it. This is Jesse's line. This is Aaron Paul's line. An assistant director stopped the director because they had heard Jesse say he wanted to say this.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what it says on the podcast.
Yeah. I was going from the commentary on it as well. They didn't say it was Jesse's. They said it was a crew member who came up with it, and the director liked it enough to throw it in.
It's in the at the very least in the podcast, it feels like it's implying that Jesse came up with it and a crew member got their attention for it.
I don't know for certain. Yeah.
I hate the line, so it doesn't matter. For me, it doesn't matter. Like, whoever did this, fuck them. It's funny, but it just, I don't know. Seems too stupid to me.
Yeah.
We get a time jump. That's basically what they're doing is we're in science mode. They're building a battery.
Right.
There.
Jesse is cutting up sponges and Walt is in full on teacher mode. They kind of have a second wind here, explaining what he's building, pointing out what's the anode, what's the cathode. And he tries to go a little bit Socratic method with them. So the sponge is the electrolyte. Yes, good. And Walt asks, so what particular element should we connect them with? Kind of waggling this copper wire at him. And Jesse goes, wire.
Yeah, I see that is not too stupid. That's funny. Like that work. It's a very delicate line. Jesse's stupidity. And then Walt grumbles, copper wire, they have enough material for 6 cells.
Yeah.
They're hoping that'll be enough. They hook them outside. It sparks, which is a really good sign.
Mm-hmm.
And Walt starts the car. Starts a little weak and then gets stronger and then keeps going.
Yeah. And they don't even celebrate, which I like.
Yeah.
It's just like, so it's a sigh of relief as opposed to when they realized they were getting, more than $500,000 a piece.
Yes. Yeah. My brain inserts the scene from El Camino that happens here in there. Like there's a scene from this episode that shows up in the movie. In my mind, I remembered it actually being here.
They actually get their grand slams.
Yeah, to go grab some grand slams. Jesse drops Walt at the airport and they are a little closer.
Yes.
Like here, Walt is trying to say something very heartfelt. Like, I know I can trust you to, basically saying like, I'm not going to be around for when this sells.
Yes.
You had to figure out a way to get to my family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Jesse reassures him, whatever happens, your family gets your share, and no lie is spoken. It's entirely, they've been through too much for Jesse to go and be selfish. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not going to do it. Yeah. And then Jesse basically says, well, I'll be hearing from you. Yeah. Like, and Walt just pauses and says, yeah, like he saw a big scary thing and thinks he's going to drop dead any minute.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they're back at the oncologist office. It's a week later. The oncologist pokes fun at how long Skylar's been pregnant and then reads the results saying, oh, we like to see, for remission, we need to see it just not grow. Sometimes we see it shrink by about 20%. I really don't like the Matador act that the oncologist is doing.
It's weird, right? So like this is a really beautifully shot episode. That I think that what I have decided is it's not the strongest written episode.
Yeah.
Like in terms of characters acting consistently, the oncologist doing the fucking Gene Parmesan or not Gene Parmesan or the doctor, the opposite of the doctor from Arrested Development, just like, well, we like to see this, it's like he's selling knives on TV. Like for that much money, you think you get this 25% reduction, right? What if I told you it's 80%?
Yeah. It's incredibly good news. He should just say, and if he wants to like set their expectations, he can say, now you're going to say this is good news, and it is. However, like there are like lots of other ways than to just kind of, do the like, oh, I'm sorry, Mom, I didn't get what I expected on my grade card. I thought I'd get A's, but I got A pluses.
That's what happens at the end of Beetlejuice. That's literally what Lydia Dietz does before jumping in the air and singing "Shake, Shake, Shake, Sonora."
So, and everybody celebrates, laughing and smiling, but Walt, like it takes him a while to realize he should be matching the energy of the room. Hank underlines it too much. He reaches over and grabs Walt, by the neck kind of with his arm and goes, just when I try to get out, they pull me back in. Yeah. Doing the Michael Corleone line, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very explicitly doing the Godfather thing that Saul was referencing.
Yes,
last episode. Walt starts coughing again, and he starts saying, like, I've been having some problem. The oncologist says you probably have radiation pneumonitis, and this is where he reveals he's coughed up blood.
Yes,
and he's like, well, that actually is very serious. You probably torn open your esophagus. Mm-hmm. Skylar and him both say you have to stop keeping secrets.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a little bit of cold water on things, but It is still good news for everybody but Walt, right? They have time is options, and Walt goes to the restroom, kind of like he was at the beginning here, cools off his face in the water, and then he goes to get some paper towels and sees his reflection in the paper towel dispenser, this shiny metal paper towel dispenser. And the episode ends with him punching it several times and warping his reflection.
Yeah, it's he punches a mirror.
Yeah,
him mad at himself.
Yes,
it's that cliche. A good moment, in this, and just it's a weird episode where the beginning and end of it. I love Walt thinking he's not going to survive, almost killing himself because of this and being wrong.
Yep,
and then having to deal with like having to wake up the next day and still be alive is a thing that happens with tragedies big and small. And tragedies inflicted on you and self-inflicted.
Yes.
Right. So like if you do something that is awful, that's in the past. And that is now you can try to make up for it, but you still got to wake up and eat breakfast and eat and go to sleep and talk to people and go get groceries. You still have to do all the things.
Yeah.
And that is a really hard reality. And I like that this show deals with that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also just the fact that like dying would be easier at this point.
Yeah.
What do you do? Okay, I have solved the money problem. We have the product. There are people that I trust mostly, to make this come through. Like I read this as him being incredibly angry that this is going to go on longer and he has to live with himself as this, like this is in the longer that he lives, the more likely it is that this comes out. Right. Yeah. Like dying would be the easy way out.
Yeah. Stone Cold Groove.
Yeah.
It's literally that. And I love that. Like I love making decisions based on having a finite endpoint, and just, it's not a finite endpoint.
Nope.
He used up all of his consumables on the Morgott fight.
Yeah.
Not thinking he'd have to go to consecrated snowfield.
Right.
Basically it's that stuff's good. I just have some quibbles with the actual, like the dialogue, really, like not even the plot writing, just some of the character writing I think is weak in this. It's okay though. Cause it's all going to cool places.
Yes.
After this, still really love season 2.
Yeah. So,
that's gonna be it for this episode. What can they do if they like the show?
Well, if they like the show, they can support this show on the network by going to Duckfeed.tv. By going to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. There they will see a whole host of extra content that will be open to them at the $5 level, and at the $10 level. Guess what? Even more content. Talking about video games and media and stuff like that.
It just keeps coming.
Yeah.
It just keeps coming. And that is a good thing.
Yeah.
Ratings, reviews, also very helpful. Telling your friends, very helpful. Listening to all the shows you have access to, very helpful. All great things. Big thanks to Gwen, our producer. We appreciate you very much. And until next time, Keys, go, you can put them behind the little thingy, the sunscreen. Thing. Keys go there a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Is my understanding.
Cup holder. I put my keys in the cup holder sometimes.
Cup holder is good. Say a pocket.
Yeah. But what if you have to jump to the ground real quick? You don't want to be like Garth.
Oh, I've fallen on my keys many times.
It hurts. It sucks.
You build up an immunity.
You build up thigh calluses.
Yeah, I got thigh calluses. It's like I have turtle legs. In that each leg is an entire turtle.